What is up, guys? This is Prince Pyramid back with another one. We're out here actually setting up for a whitetail grind, and I saw a bear which may have been albino, so let's go track him down and see if it really was albino. It also could have been spirit, if I'm being honest, but guess we'll find out. And I guess there's no way to avoid it. We haven't really done too much sports in a minute. And, you know, obviously we're in the time of year where there's just not too much sports to talk about, too much sports to cover. We're getting to the point where, you know, once the NBA's over, you kind of just have to go into early baseball. At least that's how it used to be. But in today's day and age, we now have free agency in college football. And I guess that's where we're going today. You guys, if you have been with the channel for a while, I know we have some folks that are here just off of this video because I know it's gonna get a few subs, but you guys know how I feel about NIL in college sports. I was one of those that kind of knew where this was going. ESPN, of course, made it some big issue that this is, you know, their right to seek more money and all this stuff without acknowledging that they were already in a pretty privileged class of human being and when it comes to collegiate athletes. But today, even ESPN is having to look back on some of their stupid takes, some of their L takes when it came to NIL. And I really love this video because one of my boys who is a subscriber who always talks about NIL loved NIL. He's a big NIL guy. He thought it was appropriate that they get paid that kind of money. Let me make sure this is the albino bear before we keep going. Yes, sir. Okay, so we'll keep going. But he was always big on NIL. And he's a Tennessee fan, so that makes this even better. But if you guys, and I may butcher this name, I've never been able to say this dude's name since he showed up on the scene as a high school recruit, but Nico Iamaleava. And that'll be the last time I say it. I'm just going to call him Nico from now on. Nico is 100% everything I knew was coming when it comes to NIL. And if you're not following this saga, it goes something like this. A high school kid, 17, 18 years old, is given the world. He's given millions and millions of dollars just to throw a football around a big stadium in Tennessee. And the Tennessee collective forked over all this money to make sure that they could secure this kid's talents going forward. So our kid goes out and buys cars and jewelry and all kinds of stuff. And then he shows up to Tennessee and he does pretty well for a freshman. In fact, I'd say he did very well. He did, especially in that bowl game that they were in. He really showed out. And this was all to the tune of about $2 million a year to play at Tennessee. $2 million a year. And that's not even counting some of the other, this is just basically the pay for play part of his contract with Tennessee. And it's not even a contract. It was a one-year deal pretty much because that's how college football works. So if you give a kid that's 17 to 18 all that money and all that power, you tell me, do you think it's more likely that he's going to be super grateful and loyal to the people that gave him that money? Or do you think you've created a narcissist, perhaps? Maybe you've created somebody who's just in it for the bag. Which of those seems more likely? I'll give you a few seconds to think it over. All right, I hope everybody locked in those answers because the good news is we don't have to wait to figure out who was right on this. Because our friend Nico Iamaleava, who I've starting to get his name down perfectly now that he's on his way out of the SEC. Of course, that's kind of how it's going to go. Because we know he's gone because he sat out of a $2 million deal with Tennessee. Because he knew he's able to go wherever he wanted because of the transfer portal. Who would have thought this was a bad idea? I know someone who probably was onto this. And you can go watch their video at the bottom of this playlist because I knew it and everybody else knew it. They knew that this was where we were headed. We do have a bear here. I can't tell if it's our albino or not. I kind of hope it's not because God knows I have more to say on Nico Iamaleava. But let's make sure we get a good shot just in case it is our bear. All right, and I'm not even thinking. That's definitely not our bear. And if it is our bear, it's definitely not albino. We've been doing this for nothing, just to bitch about the state of college football, which I guess made it worth it if you are a bear. But now that he's sitting out and this whole situation, you know, I can definitely talk shit about ESPN because they messed it up. I can definitely talk shit about NCAA and their whole bylaws because they messed it up. And definitely Nico Iamaleava because God knows he's messing it up. The one guy that I can't really say too much about that I think has handled this well has been Josh Heupel. He, you know, given the fact that that's his star quarterback, the fact that he was not going to be extorted by a kid, good on you and good on the program at Tennessee. But also, you were the ones that got into bed with this dude anyways, so I don't have too much sympathy for you, but I am glad that you didn't let this dude shake y'all down for more money. Let him go to whatever program. You know it's going to be a Texas program or somebody like that, Ohio State. You know that's where he's going to go because they will throw the money at him. You know who knew that was going to happen? Everyone. Everybody knew that was going to happen. They have less rules in college football for 17 and 18-year-old kids. And I say 17, that's not hyperbole. Ryan Williams is on NIL money as a 17-year-old kid at Alabama. So is Nico. So is Mikey Williams. And look what it did. Ryan Williams is fine. But Nico is already trying to sneak his way out of Tennessee. Mikey, it made him a sociopath, a kid whose whole career went down the drain because of the money. But yeah, y'all keep forking it to him and see what happens. And the thing is, people will tell me, well, this is how it works in the NFL. They're professional athletes. No, it's not. The NFL has rules. The NFL has way more rules. You know what happens if Nico's on an NFL contract and decides to sit out? He doesn't play toward his year on his contract, meaning he's not free to just go wherever he wants. That's strictly an NCAA thing because they got rid of the transfer rules. The transfer rules used to be you had to sit out a season. You couldn't just swap. There's a reason why if TJ Finley ever makes it to the NFL, okay, you guys know the old school, I don't even know if they still do it on, I think it was on NBC at night, where they would say, you know, Patrick Chung, the Ducks, or Tony Gonzalez, and they tell you what college they're from and announce or whatever. TJ Finley will be able to do that with 6 different schools. TJ Finley somehow has managed to play at Texas State, Western Kentucky, my Auburn Tigers, the LSU Tigers. He's been everywhere. And how is that possible? Well, the transfer portal. And if he was good, he'd be seeking money in it. But he's just seeking playing time in it. Nico's going to seek money in it. And he's just going to be the canary in the coal mine. It's only going to get worse. And it's because ESPN convinced a whole bunch of you sheep that this was the answer. And I think, and I've learned this recently, especially, when it comes to sports today, ESPN is basically catering toward an audience that's like, I don't know, 13 to like 17. And it's a whole bunch of kids who've never really sat and watched the sports. They basically watch the highlights on TikTok and look at the box score. That's why viewership's down, because they don't really watch. I'm pretty sure I just saw our bear too. So let's try to see if we can spot him. But I know this is the case. This is the reason why they will glaze LeBron so hard that they vicariously glaze his son. It's nuts. You'll get in an argument about Bronny James because that's just the sports IQ of the people that are watching and consuming ESPN now. And they're the ones who are the main drivers of NIL. That and a handful of, activist-minded players. And then the rest of the players really don't give a shit. They're just kind of in it because, I can get a bag, so why would I care? And those guys I respect more, If you're just willing to, like Nico, I have way more respect for Nico than some of these kids that are sitting there telling me how much they love the program when they really don't give a shit about the program. So I can't find that bear anywhere. She definitely just called. The interesting thing that I want to do is I want to put this albino beside the mission albino to see if they look any different. Somebody said the albino looks different. I think they look the exact same, but we'll find out in a second. But yeah, guys, the sad thing is all this sitting out on the people that paid you, sitting out on the program that made you, it's all going to equal to a big payday for Nico Iamaleava. And I guess I keep saying that name because I'm fairly impressed that I've got it down to this point. But that's what it's going to do. He's going to get rewarded, right? The major programs could come together and say, hey, if you're tired of these 17 and 18-year-old kids extorting us, basically, what you could do is just all kind of agree we're not going to pay them, That's all you have to do. But let's be honest, because we're in an arms race in college football, because we pay so much money to make sure we had the best programs. Like I said, the Texas schools will definitely give them the money. We already know that. The USCs of the world would give him the money. The Ohio States would give him the money. Hell, the Auburn Tigers would give him the money. I'm not going to say that we're any better. Our whole offense, again, Keandre Lambert-Smith. Somebody we gave the money and we took him from Penn State. So how do you fix this problem? I don't know. It's like you can tell a kid over and over again, hey, don't make a mess. You don't have to clean it up. Hey, don't make a mess. It's going to be bad. But now the kids have made a mess. And now they look at you like, hey, you don't have any solutions. I have things that would help, but if you want to get college football back to where it's supposed to be, let's be honest, you're going to have to just pretty much curtail the NIL. And it still will never be completely back to normal, but some of the things you could do, you could put a CBA in. You could put a salary cap in on each team. You could, you could go back to the old transfer rules where if you transfer to a different school, you have to sit out. That way you can't just go chase money. But again, none of this is going to happen. None of this is going to happen. And it's a larger problem now. Because here's the thing. Once you give somebody something, I said this in my last video, once you give somebody a privilege, taking that privilege back from them is impossible. You can't give somebody free shit and then say that's no longer free after they become accustomed to it being free. So you've given these kids free reign over college football. You've given them free reign to go wherever they want, chase whatever money they want. And now you're going to have to try to rein in those rules, and they're just not going to let that happen. Let's be honest. They're not going to let that happen. ESPN's not going to let that happen, by the way. Because ESPN has already made it a moral issue that these kids need to get paid. So what's going to be the fallout for Nico sitting out at Tennessee? He's probably going to get a raise. Let's be real. He's probably going to get a raise. He's probably going to go from $2 million a year to $6 million a year, $4 million a year. And that money will come from Texas A&M or Texas or USC or Ohio State or Alabama. And it's definitely having the impact that me and, I mean, pretty much every old school college football fan knew it was going to have. It is devastating the sport. And I think we're on our bear, so hopefully we can get this guy in the lodge. We can compare him to our albino from Medved, and I can stop having to relive the 40-minute video that started me off on NIL the first time. Because honestly, if we can wrap this up in 15 minutes, I'd call that personal growth. Last time I talked about the death of college football with NIL, that went 40 minutes. Hell, we didn't even get trophies on that hunt. We just sat there and bitched for 40 minutes. So this is already a better hunt, assuming I can get this bear. All right, come on. Holy crap, we walked right up on it. That looks just like the mission bear. I want to see them beside each other just to make sure, but that looks just like the mission bear. But there he is, guys. We did get our albino brown bear after sitting here for 15 minutes talking about college football and everything wrong with it. It would have been fairly embarrassing if I didn't get a vital. We were basically right up on it, but it does look good. It's one of the reasons I wish they didn't have the mission brown bear on Medved. Because let's say you get a legit super rare brown bear, no one's ever going to buy that, you know? The minute you say, oh, I got an albino brown bear, everyone's just going to assume it was a mission brown bear. Let's take him to the secondary lodge. Yeah. And we'll move that other albino from where it's at. I really hope they don't look exactly the same, but I think they do. So that should be a lesson for EW as a whole. Don't give us, you can give us diamonds on missions, that's fine, but don't devalue super rares. All right, there we go. This secondary lodge is really going to come together, especially once the whitetails start coming in and I can fill it up with whitetail trophies. Let's take this. Is there a multi-mount? That'd be cool. No. All right, so what we'll do is we'll just set them up right here. That's our female. That's the mission one. Yeah, they're literally the same. That kind of sucks because I always thought that the mission bear had a different type of albino, like a whiter look, but yeah, it looks like they're about the same. But all right, guys, we did finally get the bear in the lodge, which I guess was the key part of today, despite the fact that we spent the bulk of time talking about college football and NIL. But I think we're going to wrap it up here, guys. So until next time, I've been Prince Pyramid, and everybody have a good one.